not going to try?
No.
Well, I mean, if you don't want to
Preemptive give up.
Attaboy. Speaking of preemptively giving up, welcome to the Dragon's Teacast. I am the Teaman.
I'm Nick.
What? What?
We have certain expectations of you at this point.
And did I meet them or did I not? I don't even know at this point.
You have failed miserably.
Okay, well,
who are you?
I guess I'm a failure.
Okay, failure. So we were just talking about a certain story.
Okay, yeah, that was my fault. This week, I began my love story. And
the anime, not the...
it's actually, I call it the T-Man's love story, because the main character is just, in every way, shape, and form, besides the heroics, the T-Man.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. So, yeah, I guess we'll start off on that topic. What's been, you guys are further than me, what's your experience with it?
I like it. It's a rare thing where, like, there's no, like, going around the topic forever for, like, 30 episodes, and then finally they get together in the last scene, and the series ends. It's just, like, right off the bat, it's pretty much... Well, not right off the bat, but, you know, a couple episodes, they're together, and then the rest is just like, hey, we're having a relationship.
That wasn't what I was laughing about. It was I didn't think about it this way until you said that, but you're right. They don't. There's
no teasing.
Yes, they don't. Put it off until the or episode 30. They started quick, but episodically, it's like, what are we? How do you say it?
What's the catch? What
are we going around this week? Or what are we... what are we avoiding talking about this week? Or what are we teasing at this? But, you get a release usually by the end of the episode in some way, shape, or form.
What was the last episode you saw?
The last episode I saw was the one where she had a secret.
A terrible, terrible, deep, dark secret.
Yes, and for those of you that don't mind spoilers, this isn't a major one.
There aren't a whole lot of spoilers in that show. I think we can just go for it.
So, somebody that had a crush on Takeo, the main character, came back into town, and she was really jealous when she found out that he had a girlfriend. And so she was basically trying to figure out if it was worth his time, / trying to destroy it subtly. And she asked the main character, what do you like most about this girl? And he thinks for a moment, he goes, she's pure of heart, and she's, and then, everyone else but him sees, well, actually, he even sees it, that she's hiding something, and at the end of the episode, they get there, and he's just like, you're hiding something, but he means well, he just sounds that way, like the T-Man.
Hi.
And she's like, you call me pure of heart, but I want to sometimes hold your hand, and maybe snuggle.
Slut!
God, it's just...
And it just explodes, the background explodes in a collage of pink hearts and sparkles every time she talks. It's like,
It's like, I will help you however I can.
It's almost painfully cute.
It gave me diabetes.
Yeah, it's exactly how the T-Man handles his love affairs. Earlier that episode, he goes, oh man, in his head, I love her so much. And so what he says out loud is, I will never touch a head on your hair. Hair on your head. Head on your hair is more T-Man anyways. And she's just like, oh, okay, bye. God.
I'm a confused romantic.
Yes, and so is Takeo. Man.
I'm foreign, I have an excuse.
He looks foreign. Like, there's something not right about that boy.
He's half giant. He's like a well-shaved Hagrid.
He's a man.
Well-shaven and highly athletic Hagrid. Like, that guy does everything.
Hagrid seems pretty athletic.
Yes, but that's because he's got magic. He'd be good in a brawl. But Takeo is just like, I'm a sprinter and also do cross country, and I'm also head of the judo club, and I also do marathons, and I also... Like, every episode, there's something else. He just rushes into fires and, like, oh no, my boy fell into the stream. Dives, as a perfect dive into the stream, and then...
And just like the show, if I were to do something like that, who would get all the credits?
I probably would.
Yeah.
And by the way, just like him too, like, I didn't do anything.
Good job toweling off the kid's hair after Julian pulled him out of the river.
Or no, he's just helping you to the top. Oh, thank you so much. I didn't do anything. Oh, come on, thank you. Arigato gozaimasu.
Yeah. I can't wait for the tea shop to open, and everyone always goes up to you. Wow, John, you did such good work on all of this.
And I can't wait for you to be up in their, like, personal business, just like, why don't they like me more? Osu.
Hello, welcome to my store.
No, don't run! Come back!
How can I help you today?
Tell me what you want.
I'm just looking. Oh.
I will suggest things for you now.
Stands there no, like they're just looking. Oh, okay. He just stands there staring at them. Total Takio.
Someday, when you're ready, I will help you make a selection.
That's why I'm gonna hire people to do the speaking for me.
Speaking of tea stores, something happened this week.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. What was it?
This is Teaman.
Teavana is going to be closing down.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things where everyone kind of expected it, but it was still like, oh, wow, it came. Like someone having a baby.
We put it out there on the internet, and
actually,
that was what it was like for me.
Oh no, the baby! Oh no,
the baby's coming. You knew this. Huh?
It was born. Oh no.
Well, in reverse.
It's like,
oh no, the baby came. Put it back.
Reverse baby making. Oh no, it's going back in. Oh god, I was coming. No. So yeah, I mean, for us, it was like, you know, we saw it coming a long time ago, and I think we should talk about that a little bit. But I found it really interesting putting it up online. A lot of people were quite sad about it, which sort of demonstrates maybe that it wasn't the best choice on Starbucks' part, maybe. But then a lot of people were fairly surprised. Like, they didn't have a lot of faith in them to run it, but it was still like, but Teavana's huge.
Yeah.
You know, it's across.
Well,
I know it's across
name
the
one
nation.
other tea chain.
I'll go tea.
Okay.
Well, this
Fair
is kind
enough.
of my business, so I should know.
Okay.
Yeah,
But yeah,
so
they're distant
them,
second.
I knew them too, but there aren't any around here, so...
Immediately, yeah. There's one that's a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, they're all downtown.
It's kind of like with
Downtown?
mixed martial arts. It's the UFC, and who gives a shit?
Yeah. There's WWE and NXT. No, that's the part of the whatever it is. Anyways, doesn't matter. Yeah.
There's also the fake ones. Don't forget.
Yes. There's also the fake.
There's MMA and there's
the fake ones.
Soap opera fights. Yeah. So I think a large part of that is there aren't that many like national chain tea stores.
It didn't help that Starbucks just like when it's like, hey, what ways can we mess this up?
No,
let's do it.
I did a lot of thinking, contemplating, and meditating on this, and I actually kind of wonder if a national tea chain, you know, a really big tea chain, is sort of counter productive, because like coffee is, you know, very like it's a lot like ants, like it's one directional. It's, you know, produce, go, go, go. It's fast paced. You know, think about the culture of a coffee shop. You know, they've got the Wi-Fi. People are working on their business things late at night, drinking like 6 cups of coffee to get through the day. There's a certain culture that, you know,
some of them have a drive-through.
Yeah, I mean, you almost have to try to mess up coffee culture. Like, you know, more or less put in some sort of ambiguous background noise. They don't usually care too much while they're drinking their coffee. Most of them have headphones on anyways. You know, and it's, it's not about the subtleties. Coffee is a very loud tasting beverage. It, you know, gets you a very, you know, it's a spike in caffeine. So, you know, you get, you know, immediate physiological results. And so, I mean, you drink coffee a lot more for the effects of the drug of caffeine. Versus tea is subtle. And so the successful, like, think of, well, for those of you that don't know your history, and even if you do know your history, you probably don't know the tea history of China. It started out, they had the tea houses, and you would make a whole afternoon, sometimes a whole day around tea. And the subtleties were what were important. Very, very little. Sometimes it was pure silence, like tea ceremonies, silence. Every sound that the towel makes matters. But then, you build up, subtle music that goes with the particular teas. Those sometimes were selected for, this particular green or white tea. And then the company, for those of you who haven't seen Fearless, watch Fearless. The Chinese and the Japanese martial artists are drinking tea, and they're having this really great conversation about it. And Jet Li's character says, really, tea is about the company that you keep while you have it. And it's total community, it's total subtlety. These are things that you cannot cookie-cutter reproduce. So if you were to have a national chain, you would need like one store here, one store there that you oversaw every aspect to. And you need people that were that passionate, and you need to like check in and make sure this is like Song Dynasty Tea Shop, and that's not like anything else, I've been talking a while. What do you guys have to say about that? That's my take on it.
So you're saying like one Teavana would be like have a different theme than the other. Like one would be like, this is the Japanese tea house, and then the other would be like, this is English tea time place.
What Teavana did well was they got as close to meeting our culture as they could. They used to, when they were successful, I remember they had a whole wall of cast iron teapots. And every single one, and they changed, I think they ship different amounts to different stores, more so than, like basically you go into Starbucks, it's almost all the same stuff. But every single one of the teapots had at least a paragraph about the symbol that was on the cast iron. Mm-hmm. And then they had another wall that changed significantly, and they talked about like the cracked clay that's the prize of Korea. They talked about the Yijing pots, and there were all these things to allow you sort of contemplation, and then the people would come up and they would talk with you about it, and you could get a cup of tea and just sort of wander this and just take it in.
Yeah.
And then it's this more subtle thing, like, you might not make the sale that day. Like, a lot of times Yijings are, like $50, and it's pretty cheap, like some of them were $20 to $50. And, you'd think about it, and then you'd find, like, the perfect tea for it, and it's the process. It's not like, you pick out a French press, and that's good for any type of coffee. It really doesn't matter what you brew in it. So, it's long-term in general, tea is. And so they had all these things that increase the likelihood that you would get something at that time, because they also had really cheap teapots and really cheap teas and things. But they tried to streamline it a little bit, but they also had a lot of the things that made tea houses successful.
Starbucks is one of the problems with what Teavana used to do, and then what Starbucks made them do. One of the most confusing things Starbucks did was Teavana already tried to have a more modern approach to this stuff. Mm-hmm. Starbucks came in, looked at it, said, "We're going to modernize this." Mm-hmm. Which, it's already that. So it became this like weird thing that is just... It's not what it was.
If you were a regular customer there, you might have noticed a sudden spike in the amount of upselling and, hey, you bought a cup of tea. You also want to buy a bag of loose leaf tea and a pot to go with that.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do stuff like, "Oh, you like this tea? I'm going to put 5 pounds in this bag. You going to buy it?" And just like...
Mm-hmm.
Very, very obnoxious. They had good music playing. They had the CDs of what they were playing there for you to like put on headphones and listen to.
Yeah, that's a Starbucks thing.
They took that away.
They took it away?
They took it away.
Weird.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do at Starbucks. They have the music playing, and then they have the compilation CDs right in the front. That is bizarre.
Yeah, Teavana used to have some really nice tea drinking music. Like that set the
Did they
mood really
replace it with here's jazz or something?
Whatever it's.
Honestly, I can remember
like Starbucks music.
I can remember walking into Teavana about 10, 15 years ago. And that sort of feel was memorable. Like a lot of times it was like Tibet music met like electronica, but other times it was more subtle. I couldn't tell you what was playing last time I went into Teavana. It was just forgettable.
Generica.
Yeah, Generica.
They did that. They changed up the color scheme. Now it was a lot brighter and just kind of ugly after you said it for more than 5 seconds. That's the way I view a lot of the postmodern.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it used to be darker, more earthly colors. Mm-hmm. Now it's brighter, more silvery in some places.
Silvery.
Yeah. We can go there again. You can see it.
I haven't been there in a while.
Well, the most stupid freaking thing they did, which drives me insane.
Really?
Is So Teavana used to do the right thing where they had several different temperatures for tea.
Oh, yeah.
And they stopped that. Now they just have boiling water, and if they're making a green tea, they just throw ice cubes in, think that's going to fix it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You already had the setup. Why would you do that?
To reduce the skill of employees needed.
Yeah.
Right? I will say...
all they have to do there, though, is have pots that are constantly at 180 or whatever.
You're right, I understand.
There's zero
and label them green.
With that. Yeah.
Really...
Yes, you're right. You could get even dumber and do that. But if you get Gyokuro Imperial, that's gonna ruin you will not enjoy that tea.
Yeah,
it's impossible to get a cup of that.
Yeah, that's top shelf, and you couldn't. That's no longer a possibility.
If you go in there and give me your finest, most luxurious green tea, they will ruin it for you.
There was one green tea that I had there before I realized that they were doing that, and that one wasn't that bad. It was probably one of the more robust ones. But yeah, in general, bad strategy. No reason to do it, and then just a bad strategy.
Reminds me of Whole Foods. They were doing a lot of why would you do that stuff as well. I used to work at Whole Foods, and I got it at the right time. I managed a salad bar, and one of our most popular items was the lemon dill tuna salad. That thing sold like crazy. What they decided to do was to take out the lemon, the dill, and the salad. So it was just tuna flakes.
Tuna with mayonnaise?
Not just tuna.
Okay.
Yeah. They received a lot of complaints.
I wonder why.
Hey, one of our most popular items is just now gone. All you left us is tuna. Why did you do that? To, save money. But now I don't want to buy anything. Money saved.
You can go over to aisle 4 and get the dill, and aisle...
Oh my god.
These weird things. I've noticed in a lot of companies, because Chipotle, when I used to be over there as well, back in 2012, there was a lot of instances of that, like the upper Midwest management people. Hey, do this decision that we have no real knowledge of what we're doing. I'm just gonna make everything worse. Oh, thank you. It'd be nice if you came to the store and saw what had to be done. And this is one of those cases where we're yeah, let's just have one temperature for tea. That's one of the most fundamental aspects. You can't just take that away. We did it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, beyond that, so, bitching is one thing, but I've met people that say that they don't like tea because that they took a green tea and used boiling water, and that was their experience. And I really can't blame them for that. I'm that's just... it should be day one stuff, but a lot of people don't know that if you're using green tea, for example, you brew it at a lower temperature. And you can take people that would have otherwise not liked it and make them into usually it's at least this is decent, when you brew it the right way. So
to try and give some context to anyone who's not a big tea drinker, take some type of alcohol that you usually need to put... 1 second.
Here, have some tea.
Oh, thanks. What is it? What is it?
Some kind of oolong, I think?
No!
Then it's green.
No!
Then it's white.
Yes!
Okay.
Snow dragon. Snow.
Snow dragon.
Snow is white.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Was this brewed with boiling water?
It was not. But I left the tea bag in, so I might be a little bitter at this point.
Actually, not bad.
Good. Meanwhile, back at the plot. What was the plot?
Tell us about the tea.
Tell us about the tea. It's a white tea. It's delicious. Buy it. So, Snow Dragon. What I like about this tea is, this is the tea to go to if you want to introduce somebody to the idea of the subtle tastings of tea. It's one of those teas where if you're just kind of doing stuff and bringing it to the side, you're not going to taste much. But if you actually stop and think about it, you can taste so much more just, how to describe it, just delicious, rich flavors. Undertones, yes. So it's good for that. If somebody needs to slow down, buy him this tea. If you want to taste it, slow down and think about what you're tasting. And you'll taste something amazing.
A lot of people who don't drink tea regularly or never, they want to just put milk and sugar in it because they're probably used, maybe they had a bag of Lipton black tea once 20 years ago or something.
Thanks, England.
Force them to not do that and give them a nice cup of white tea, and they will thank you for not putting that in.
Speaking of which, at the time of this recording, this is August 1st, which begins our 2-year anniversary for the Dragon's Treasure. Use coupon code THANKYOU to get 25% off all of your items, all of this month. If this comes out in time, check out our Facebook. We're going to have a contest to see who wins Nintendo Switch, and another one to see who wins one of 3 select video games. Want to know which ones? Go to the Facebook page. Okay, back to the other plot. What was I talking about? Oh yes, so if you're not a big tea connoisseur person, let's take alcohol. You make a pina colada with coconut, rum, and pineapple. Imagine if someone decided to make a pina colada with coconut, pineapple, and scotch. It's not exactly the same. In fact, it's just not the same at all. Or if someone took pineapple, coconut, spit in it, and said, there you go, it's a pina colada. That's not too far from, hey, let's take this tea that brews at 175 degrees, put boiling water, here you go. It's going to be just awful and disgusting.
Yeah, it tastes like leaf juice.
Yeah.
75 degrees?
175.
Okay, that'd be like... Never mind.
Yeah. So yeah, it is...
That's just tap water.
Yeah. It's not a subtle thing. It's a huge, huge oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think that Starbucks just didn't have the capacity, for whatever reason, to embrace the tea culture. So, we saw this coming for a long time, and it took me a while to figure out how to articulate exactly why. But, going forward... we're the Dragon's Treasure.
Mm-hmm.
Support us and we won't sell ourselves to Starbucks.
We still exist.
That's another thing. If there's any tea that Teavana has, which they're not going to have anymore because they're closing, that you want us to have, email us. Message us on Facebook. We will look for it, and if you find it, we will carry it for you.
And by the way...
That's the Teaman guarantee.
I'm
smiling.
Tea?
Yes, guaranteed. Good job, Nick.
I'm doing away with this program. No.
I quit. Or I'm selling out to Starbucks. So I don't think we're going to say this anywhere else. So this will be an exclusive for here. I've already suggested that any teas that we pick up from the vendors that used to sell to Teavana, we should name after ghosts.
We're gonna have to.
An entire Yu Yu Hakusho line.
Or you could use Soul
Leader?
Not Soul Eater.
Bleach.
The Soul Society, or you can use the Heroic Spirits, or you can use... I mean, anime loves dead people.
I gotta find a generic tea and name it after Bleach. Have I mentioned the problem?
What's a generic tea?
Probably Sencha, because that's, the generic one that... I love Sencha, but that's the tea which all the Japanese restaurants carry. So...
Is it?
Yeah.
That's usually been Genmaicha from my experience.
Yeah, well, I hate you.
Yeah, well, shut up.
Have I mentioned why I don't like Bleach?
I don't think so.
I think,
if you have not figured out why Bleach is bad...
God, we're talking about old junk again. Okay, go on.
Oh, I'll just keep it quick.
Last week's podcast title, Nostalgia Sucks. Let's talk about Naruto. Alright, let's talk about Bleach.
I just want to talk about things so we don't repeat the same mistakes. And, again, it just had the same stupid mistake. Well, actually, their mistake was actually more unique. Because they took concepts and just recycled and recycled and recycled to the point where you kind of knew where the plot was going because they've done it 2 or 3 times already with really little difference. I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. Everybody has noticed this. It's also the fact that you don't care about anybody because there's like 50 million characters. And just when you get a chance to know like 2 of them, they bring in like 20 more. I don't care. There's too many of them. And also their idea of power levels just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. In the Rookie arc, a weapon that's got about 50,000 times the strength of one of our attacks. Ichigo blocks it like it's nothing.
Well, but
he literally turns his back on it.
Yeah. And then he goes off and struggles against other people.
Yeah, right?
Really annoying. Okay, back to the other plot.
What was that?
Teavana.
Oh, yeah.
And just how Starbucks just... Yeah. And they also did the thing where... Again, this also goes back with the pushiness thing. They want to sell the tea and just get the people out. That is not a good way to do tea.
You're rehashing basically what I said. It's just they didn't have the understanding of tea culture. And this idea that everything needs to be sold the same is just like you're going to sell lingerie differently than you're going to sell books. Like you don't say like, all right, here's the changing room for your book, and you would set up a reading room differently than you would a changing room. Like even if I'm gonna follow this to the end, coffee, it works. Like coffee, you're getting a spike in a lot of different things at once. And most of their drinks are usually like the specialty, highly sugared ones. So you're going for a burst of flavor, a burst of this, and to get out and on with your day. They never embraced it. And tea will never probably be successfully sold like this. Oh, good example. I really wish I remembered the name of this. But in Oregon, there's a tea shop that I read about, in a magazine that I really want to visit. He actually was as close. He sort of took a page out of Teavana's books, but he realized that there are 2 aspects of tea. Like there is the tea house, which is absolutely essential for the success of tea, and then there's the business side. And so what he did is he literally, to enter his shop, there's 2 doors, and on the right side, let's say the right side. It was the tea house. There was like a little fountain in the corner. There'd be like 100, 50 to 100 teas that were going to be served that day, and little tables that you sat down on the ground on, and there'd be like a booth for some people that were older. And you could sit and just have the tea house experience. Next door it was like sort of set up like Teavana. Just a bunch of the jars, and they would hold classes there where they would smell them, and they would brew up, probably 4 or 5 at a time for tea tasting purposes. And it's closer to what Starbucks wanted. It was fairly modern. It was very much like everything in its place, whereas a tea house is more natural.
Yeah.
But you can't... he could not have opened up, especially the left side on its own. He could have arguably gotten away with the right side. But in order to do that, you need both.
So, like, restaurant on one side, takeout on the other?
Kinda, yeah. Except both of them were standalone shops.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So,
That's
they were
weird.
divided by a wall. T-Lula's doing the same thing, kind of. Like, they have a side for classes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Those in the Chicagoland area, T-Lula and Park Ridge, fantastic shop.
Mm-hmm. They helped me out a lot with getting my start as well. It's a nice thing about the tea community. We're competing, but we're still nice and friendly. If we don't have an item and an opponent, quote unquote, has, we'll just send them over to them. It's okay.
Well, and then if you buy from the vendor, it reduces the cost for everybody. If everyone jumps on this, it's like, okay, cool. We'll grow more. It all feeds into itself really nicely.
There's a certain... I don't want to say this because other people ruin the word, but there's a certain spiritual element to tea which, when you get someone to do tea right, they feel it. They might not know what it is or how to describe it, but it just set things into motion in a really nice way. And I want more people to experience that. And they can't experience that with, tea from a drive-thru.
Right, Get all your tea now, so that we don't have to see you again for a few months.
Drive-through blooming tea.
Gross.
For those who don't know, and I'm sure there's a lot of you because it's very unusual, blooming tea is it's like a ball about the size of like an eyeball maybe.
Sure. Odd, but sure.
Now you have a great image to go with this.
Give me an idea.
Yeah. Have fun coming up with a theme for that one. And so you put it in maybe like a clear teapot or a French press maybe.
Boo.
And no, French presses are great. And as you pour the water in and as it starts to heat up, it unfolds and it's usually used for like more flowery teas, and so they're designed to be beautiful because there's usually flowers in them, and so it unfolds and looms, and kind of it's like a show.
Yeah,
that's going on.
The tea is fully infused when it's opened fully.
Yes.
A lot of them too. A lot of the flowers, some of them are like lotuses, and those to me look the prettiest. But the coolest ones, they actually will have where it opens up, and then there will be like a almost like a chain of flowers, like a string of flowers.
Yeah.
That go up, and they won't release until it's fully infused, and then okay, it's time to serve the tea. It's a party tea.
It's like a watching a stop motion flower blooming. Mm-hmm. Or not stop motion, the opposite of that, sped up.
Yeah. It looks the movements look odd because they're underwater.
Yeah.
But in China and Japan especially, they actually grade tea these days on how visually appealing it is as the tea brews. Like the highest grade will, I think, stand straight up. It looks like a forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just from watching anime, I thought that was like a sign of good luck or something if there's a bit of tea like poking up the top of the tea.
Yeah, I mean,
have you seen that?
I've seen that a couple times in anime, but I've seen it. I saw a video the other day where they were talking about the grades of tea, and I mean, we're talking like every tea leaf. It looked like a sencha. It looked like every one of those like little needles was just straight up. It was like kind of bizarre, but it was
weird.
It was really kind of neat.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways that they grade tea it doesn't even matter what it
They
tastes
probably
like.
used magnets or something.
How does that work? Oh man, this is actually a Teacast today.
Yes.
This is what happens when you have. All right, so
This is what happens when you have news for the tea industry.
I was going to blame the snow dragon because it's a contemplative tea.
Okay.
As things
I'll
get
take it.
as you get more and more flavor, you need to dedicate less and less of your brain to staying with your senses. As you get this sort of subtle white tea, you're almost forced to sort of stay with it and just follow the flavor on your tongue. And it's amazing what that does to conversation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other terrible corporate news,
Yay!
GameStop has ended what they call their circle of life, which sounds great, but it's actually a terrible, horrible thing that's ruining the economy of the game industry.
Oh, you mean the circle of life?
The circle of life.
It sounded like you were saying it sounded great that they're ending the circle of life. I'm like, no, that sounds like the opposite of great.
No,
that's post-apocalyptic.
The circle of life sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming you guys don't know about this.
Not really.
Not being too into video game industry news.
Just that 30% has to be resold or something like that, right?
So their deal is most of their money comes from used games and buying people's used games for,
Nothing.
$2 or whatever, yeah, and selling them back for $20, and they get a 90% profit off of that. So they actually make relatively little on selling new games, probably like 25% of the game's actual price. Like, so a $60 game, they get $15. So for a long time now, they really push used games. So when you go to the checkout, you have the game in your hand, it's brand new. They're like, you could get that for the used version for $2 less. You want to do that? No. Are you sure? Yes. Well, okay then. So this is a corporate policy, much like we were talking about earlier, Teavana pushing all kinds of sales. They had huge quotas with used stuff. Like you said, I think it was 30% of the store's merchandise has to be pre-owned. Yeah. So they are actively trying to sabotage the game industry. And again, can either of you name another store that just sells video games and nothing else? Because I can't.
9. There was a place that opened up by us, the Video Games Then and Now, that was open for about 2 months.
Yeah, none that last that long.
Yeah, and no chains.
No chains.
No chains. So they are ending this, which is great. They're not exactly ending it. They're putting it out of the employee quota, and so they're not punishing people for not selling enough used junk.
Good.
It's very good. The GameStop by us is actually really good. I've heard a lot of people that work at GameStop complaining about how terrible the management is and like what a terrible business practice they have and corporate policies. But the one by us, they rarely try to upsell things, but there's been a couple times where I've gone there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this game, and I could get it on eBay or whatever for half the price, but I'm going to buy it because it's a small company, a small developer or whatever, and I'm gonna buy a new copy because they're gonna fail if people don't buy their enough games. So here I go. I got it in my hand, and then I'm at the counter, and they're like, you could get $4 off if you buy it used, and I'm like, oh wait, no, I almost give in because it's like, oh, $1, sure, I like dollars.
Isn't it usually like $20? It's usually more than a few bucks. It's pretty significant.
It used to be, but it's now it's less.
Okay.
So the two ones that come to mind were Bloodborne, which I accidentally got tricked into buying a used copy of, and that was $2 less. I think I bought it for $20, and I paid $18. And yeah, the upsell is strong there. And the other one was Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And
Loser.
Yeah, that sound is why I actually paid them the money and not GameStop, because nobody bought that. And guess what? They're making a sequel, and America's gonna get it. So I win because I paid them the money.
Digimon.
So this game that we are now talking about, because you made such a big deal about it, it's Digimon, a Digimon game for people who grew up playing Digimon and are now adults and have memories of the first 3 seasons.
Okay.
And it's nostalgia fueled, but also evolved for like our age bracket, our demographic.
I've got to ask, what do you mean by playing Digimon? Do you mean those walkie things? We used to have those walkers for Digimon.
No, it's a PS4 game.
PS4? Oh, no. I mean, when you grew up playing Digimon, what did we have back in the day?
Like watching the show.
Okay, like with Ty and
yes,
those guys are. I remember.
You remember?
I remember.
I don't.
And that's why you're scoffing, because you're probably one of those people who are like, Pokemon is so cool, Digimon's lame.
Yeah,
but Digimon came first.
I recently started to make a graphic, and I thought about using Angewomon, and everybody in our group was just like, "Who's that? What's that?" I'm like, "It's Angewomon! Come on!"
Ooh.
She was so good.
Yeah, she was the hottest.
She was.
Is she one of those 10-year-olds?
She was a cat.
Let's play a game of better or worse.
More accurately, she digivolved from a cat.
Yes, who was originally a villain. She has quite a character arc now that I think about it.
What was her name?
Angewomon. And before that, what was her cat name? She had a very tomboy, "Hey everybody," like very Meowthy kind of, in her own way. Not really like as
like
caricatured.
I don't know, because all I can think of is the.
Let me take a look at a picture of this.
mascot
Oh my god!
All I can think of is the mascot from Persona 5.
Yeah. I'm almost sure that was in some way.
This isn't for children.
Yes, it is. You settle down.
Oh my god. Iku.
Anyway, yeah. So
can I borrow the game for?
Good on me for buying that. But yeah, they really push the used games. Like, even if they're like, are you sure you really want like a new copy? Like, why would you possibly want a copy that hasn't been through 5 people and has a stack of price tags stuck on the game?
Each
box.
one more expensive than the next. First time it's used, it's no longer new. Then every time thereafter becomes seasoned. Damage resistant +2.
Anyway, good on them for not
for ending that oppressive line circle.
yeah.
They took down the line page.
Hey, speaking of ending oppressive circles,
don't be huge.
Speaking of ending
terrible upsellers.
Speaking of
ending oppressive circle jerks. Ending oppressive circle jerks. Some remember last week we were talking about Pokemon Go and
how successful that was.
No, the opposite. Some Pokemon Go Fest attendees are now filing suit against Niantic.
Yeah. So, yeah, you said they were charging people at the door that doesn't exist. The door that they created specifically for this event.
To get into Grant Park, basically, and they were giving away the plan was to give away prizes and stuff.
Well, the prizes being legendary Pokemon.
Potentially. I think other things too, but besides the point, like, man, did they drop the Pokeball.
Yes, you used that last week.
I know, there you go again.
Basically, the I think it's a class action lawsuit, and everyone involved is suing because they flew in from all over the place, as far as Japan, to come to this, and they didn't get their legendary Pokemon.
Not at that time. I've been getting Pokemon Go has been sending updates to my phone like the legendary Articuno has been spotted near you. Today it was the legendary Moltres.
They're doing damage control?
They're trying.
That's weird.
It just comes off as sad. Like, I haven't even opened up the app on principle just because I'm like, no, go away.
I haven't seen any of those actually.
I got it actually as I got here today.
I installed it a while ago.
You still like it on Facebook, though.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta move that then.
Yeah, stop liking things.
You sound like me.
So, yeah, people are suing them for the cost of plane tickets and transportation and hotel rooms and stuff.
Which really doesn't speak well about Chicago. Like, they get here and there should be other things to do, but they're like, no, we didn't get our, damn Pokemon Go.
Well, they didn't come here to see the Art Institute. They came here for Pokemon.
Yeah.
What are they... Come on.
This is like delayed release because they got here and maybe I have this image of them because this was like a couple days gone. It's just like they got here and like, well, we're gonna try to make the most of this. Looks left, looks right. All right, I'm suing.
No, but like I see your logic because I use logic, not Pokemon rules. Like
I see your logic because I use logic.
That's how it works.
I see your logic because I'm thinking and not trying to sue you for money. And also not traveling halfway across, literally entirely across the world for Pokemon.
Depending on how you think about... Never mind. I was about to make a dumb point. But yeah, and I get what you're saying. That's like a, 20-hour flight? Something like that.
It's as long as a flight as you can get without...
Side note, I never knew this. There's a guy that comes into my work. He's really cool. He just flew to China and Korea, and I didn't know this. I guess in order to do that, you fly up like way north, like past Alaska, because the world is wider at the equator.
Yeah,
and so you just cut off time by like flying thousands of miles north.
Yeah, it makes sense.
To then loop back down. I never knew that though. Like that's fascinating.
I feel like I knew that. But maybe I didn't, and I think I'm just being smart.
Yeah, I know. It makes sense when you lay it out, but I'm just like...
yeah, well, obviously.
I think back to Indiana Jones, and, they always just flew straight there, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But now I'm thinking of this what do you call that, an ellipse type of trajectory that they have to do, and I'm like, that looks ridiculous, but it makes sense.
Yes.
Anyways, I just wanted to share. So they didn't necessarily fly across the world. They flew literally all. Oops, sorry, hit the mic. They flew literally all over it.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies, that reminded me of something.
Uh-oh.
So, a movie
that also reminds me I have to rent Logan on PS Plus.
That's right. Worth every penny.
Because it's out this week. I'm gonna type that right here.
While you do that,
Logan, semicolon accent. Okay, close enough.
Meanwhile,
I'll remember what that meant. what that means later.
Knock, knock.
So there is a movie that... There's a movie that...
Who's there, John?
Interrupting cow. Go on, T-Man.
So anyway...
Moo!
How did I not see that coming? Anyway... there's a movie which none of us have seen, and we don't want to give money to, but in a purely masochistic way we want to see.
Oh, the Emoji movie.
Yes. Because we've seen some of the reviews, and it sounds just absolutely depressing and soul-crushing. And so we want to see the train wreck.
I was also going to use the word soul-crushing.
Yeah. So we want to see the train wreck. We are not happy with dead bodies, but come on, you want to see the train wreck.
I will not give money to this on principle.
Yes.
I just won't.
Do not make this a success.
And I actually really want to take this time to talk to any literary nerds out there, and anybody that cares at all about story.
Yes.
So that's us, but hopefully you. So what they're doing is extremely transparent. And that's in and of itself not necessarily a terrible thing, because if it's too archaic, it's, like, that's bad writing on one level. But this is about an emoji that is, what was the word? A multi-emotional emoji?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought he was emotionless.
The description we saw was that he, had too many emotions. But I don't know, maybe this movie's just so awful it tries to do both.
I think it was like he had an emotion that he didn't want, and he was trying to break out of his shell or something like that.
All right, if that's the story, then that wasn't the synopsis that I read. If it's
or maybe it was like the boring face, like
that would be fine
colon
too.
Vertical line.
Except for Gene in exuberant emoji with multiple expressions.
See exactly what I was saying.
Determined to become normal like the other emojis, Gene enlists the help of his best friend High Five and a notorious codebreaker called Jailbreak. Ooh. Learning that travels through the other apps, the three emojis discover a great danger that could threaten the phone's very existence.
The last part's new. I'm glad that was tacked on. But okay,
is the danger conformity?
Yes,
because that would be a great plot twist.
His best friend is teamwork. It's high five. That's connection. Okay, great. That's a good message. But this is a matter of a lot of frustration to me. Look at your metaphors. What is an emoji? Class?
It's an emotion.
What is it?
It's a simplistic.
It is not
picture.
an emotion.
It's a
expression of an emotion.
It's a symbolic, simplistic representation of a one-dimensional feeling. Right.
It's a way for you to convey, your emotion in a more ethos way. It is a way to quickly say a lot of your emotional and visceral reaction to a said thing, or something like that. They're tools. This is not to be confused with an emotion. Like you guys said initially, that is not what an emoji is.
Right.
Your emotions are part of the experience of being human. So this is where it starts to really irk me.
They're fragments of emotions.
These are just representations. Like a word, like happy, represents what? Happy. It does not represent sorrow. It does not represent boredom. It does not represent constipation. It is just a representation.
That's an emoji I haven't seen.
Unless you like constipation.
Even if you like constipation, they are different things. That is one of the things that causes you to be happy. It is not happiness itself. So, emojis are pictorial. They're basically hieroglyphs of this. Sorry, memes. All of a sudden, my brain focusing. You use them to convey this, and so what you use as a metaphor really matters. And using it this way is counterproductive to the obvious agenda they're trying to spread. And I'm not going to remark on the agenda one way or the other, what I will say though is if you choose this screws over that emoji because you can't use it. It is no longer an emoji once it gets to that level of inconsistency. Like you send it, like kissy face. If this was that kind of emoji, you send it to your girlfriend and suddenly it's flicking her off. It's just like, you have betrayed me. Like it is like it now has convoluted its own meaning. And so this is a convoluted meaning, convoluting its own meaning, and that's what the story's based off of. It's just like, that's bad writing. That is really poor focus. The whole story ceases to be.
So you
it is
like
but
the
a shadow.
story, or
No,
you
it's
don't?
awful.
Well, yeah, but I'm not sure whether it's the core concept that you don't like or the multiple emotion emoji that you don't like.
Both. It goes hand in hand. Like, it's a mixed metaphor to begin with. And badly.
Yeah.
And it's mixed in a way that the thing that they're pursuing is the opposite of what they need to be pursuing.
Which is
consistency. Like, I suppose the only way to quasi wrap this up is if they're trying to transcend being emojis.
The movie ends up being really cynical according to the reviews, so...
Well, great. But...
from everything I've heard, it's a soul-crushing, heartless, emotionless, like...
It also makes me...
of an existential crisis.
It makes me wonder, because one of the voice actors, something for the movie, said that this whole thing was like a plot to freaking stop Trump.
What?
Yeah.
How?
I don't know. But that's what, he says, this is our way of stopping the Donald.
Well,
good job.
My guess is basically that this is sort of like Nihilism, the movie. It's Nihilism. It's, well, what's the point of an existence if you're just a singular emotion? And if that is your, if that's your purpose, if you are being effectively, utilized, then you're in your element, there's a catharsis in that I really don't think that you can address, because we're looking at these singular dimensional things as well, wouldn't they want to experience blank? And no, that's it's bad writing. It's just it's god awful writing. Because if that is their experience, then when let's do the most the least happy. So just the sad emoji. Well, shouldn't they want to be happy? Well, no. If their entire structure is set up to be sad,
it's their job.
The worst place for that to be utilized is in what you want it to be, happy. Then it's in conflict with what its situation is. This is basic psychology, actually. But besides the point, this is an organism in this movie, which makes no sense to begin with. But besides that, this is an organism which best is utilized and is in its element when things are sad, because then it's in a community of sad people. It's it's kind of shouldn't I don't know, shouldn't vegetarians, or vegetarian animals eat meat because we like meat? No, they're not set up for that. Shouldn't, carnivores only eat vegetables because I feel better when I eat vegetables? No, because they're not set up for that. Stop pushing, what you are set up to do on other organisms. I mean, so, in every way, shape, and form...
I have no idea,
Jump in!
I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Just that it's bad writing. It's made off of a metaphor.
I got that.
It's made off of a metaphor which contradicts its point.
Okay.
Yeah.
It might not be as deep, but a lot of people seem to agree. I mean, Rotten Tomatoes, it was at 0%. And, every other people rate it as, a 1 out of 100, or just, they hate this thing. It's not doing well.
It's not doing well, and we need to learn from it, or else we're going to, I want to make a thing about
The entire concept is one of those ideas you come up with by thinking, what kind of stupid thing will they obviously not do, can I say, to satirize and make fun of these people? And they did it. It's like, what's a good way of making fun of how stupid society is? They make an emoji movie. Oh my god.
I wonder if the desperation emoji is in there.
It just follows everyone scene to scene in the background.
It's the camera.
It's pose law in action. It's like, I came up with this idea to make fun of you guys, and you're making a movie out of it.
Yeah, so pick your metaphors. Like, it has... And writing is rewriting, right? So if it's at some point it should have come up that, this is actually opposite of what we're trying to accomplish.
I just thought of something stupid. A way to see the movie without giving it money. Choose a movie that you're okay with giving money to, buy a ticket for that, but then go to the emoji movie.
The what? Oh my
go
god.
to the wrong theater.
It's so stupid in my work.
I mean, how would it not?
God.
So is that unethical?
Well,
I never thought I'd be in this situation to even think about something like this.
I mean, as long as you are willing to buy a ticket to go see the movie that you would be okay seeing eventually.
But you're not... You're paying for the ticket, but the ticket goes...
Really, in this case,
it goes mostly to the theater, but it also goes... So, does the amount of tickets that the specific movie sells, that goes to the... It doesn't... Like, the theater doesn't buy the movie and then it's settled. They pay a portion of each ticket to the thing. So it's technically like you're paying the theater, but it's technically stealing-ish. I don't want to use that word, but it's the closest thing I can come up with.
I am looking that it's not even a single movie I'd be willing to give any money to anyway.
But that's why I say
wait till September.
That's why you have to buy a ticket for the movie you want to see in order to see this crappy movie and not give it money. And then you have, if you, are going to get a ticket, or if you're going to watch the actual good movie, you have to pay again because you have to pay the theater for its time and your presence.
They made a movie.
And then you can imagine it this way: the first time you're paying the good movie to not be the emoji movie. The second time you're paying the movie to enjoy it.
Well, I'm not saying is it unethical to pay for one ticket and then watch like every movie in the theater, because that's obviously unethical.
Mm-hmm.
But is it unethical to pay for the wrong movie?
This is one of those exceptions that prove the rule things. Normally, we could debate it, but for the emoji movie, I'd be okay with it.
Well, it's not whether or not you'd be okay with it. I mean, if it's whether or not it's unethical, it applies. It has to apply across the board.
If the emoji movie can explain why it'd be unethical using only emojis, then I would consider it unethical.
Actual emojis or emoji characters?
Actual emojis.
I just had a thought. So this is a lot of fun. I've done this a few times, where you try to get people to guess the movie using only emojis. Like you have a movie in your mind, and then you make a series of emojis, and then you have people guess. That's actually great. You can make a great plot from just emojis.
Well, yeah, because there's a million of them now.
They're really hieroglyphs. But making a movie based off of it is just, like the opposite.
At this point, it's like tell a movie try and guess what movie this is using GIFs. It's not that hard.
All right. So what else are we going to talk about?
So last week we talked about very briefly about
Sonic.
About the nostalgia consoles.
Yes.
And one of them that we kind of mentioned really quickly was the Genesis one.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually, this week it turned out it's the one that we should have talked about the most, because it's a huge fraud failure one. Sega isn't making it. Some company called AtGames is, and unlike the Nintendo and ostensibly the Atari one, which that one's still a crazy weird thing, this one basically doesn't work that great. All the games lag, and
how do you make a game like that lag?
Exactly. Well, you use cheap hardware. That's what you do. You use hardware that's...
Do they make hardware that cheap?
They don't.
Oh, they use discs?
Well, no, not... You mean cartridges.
Yeah, the old one used cartridges. It looked like a round thing on the top. It looks like it's just, this is the cartridge slot, but underneath is the disc.
No.
Okay.
So, it's a combination of... the other ones, which are basically you turn it on and then there's a menu with all the classic games. But what's really weird is that they have just random games that aren't Genesis games, and it's here's some games that we made and enjoy them. And there's no real way to sort them, and there's all kinds of problems with the menu and the interface, and the controller, when you turn it on, the buttons, you have to press them twice before they start working.
Huh.
When you put a cartridge in, first of all, having the ability to put in a cartridge is great. None of the other ones do that, so props to that. No props to having the cartridge not play at actual speed and having it really laggy, laggier than a Genesis. I mean, come on, that's pathetic.
I didn't know the technology existed to be able to make that happen anymore.
It really doesn't. I don't know what this is, but it's just sad and pathetic, and I don't know how you do that. Like if you play Sonic, it's just Sonic is a game where you go fast. That was the Genesis's huge, its huge draw, whatever you want to call it.
You gotta go fast.
You gotta go fast. And it had the, what was the thing that didn't exist? Blast processing. And, it worked really smoothly, even with Sonic. And when you play Sonic, it doesn't render half the time. So, this stupid thing, it doesn't work. You put the cartridge in, and you have to reboot it to use the cartridge, which I guess that's reasonable, but still.
Maybe this is their way of killing the nostalgic trend. You remember feel the pain, like negative reinforcement.
Well, no, but when you turn in or when you turn on a cartridge for an actual Genesis, it turns on, and then the start screen comes up. But with this, it's it loads the operating system. So it's not the same. No. Don't buy that. That's the news. Also, Persona 5 is getting an anime. Ooh. No surprise there. Spring 2008. It just says 2008. Or 2018, wow.
I was going to say. From the Steins Gate territory.
Yeah, time travel involved. It just says 2018. Probably not spring.
Probably not. To be pushed back at least 2 times.
Another Fate thing has been announced.
Ooh.
Another anime. I can't keep track anymore. Screw it.
Oh wait, we didn't watch the. Did we watch the most recent?
5?
I don't think episode 5 is out.
What's up with that?
It comes out on another day. I don't know. Comes out tomorrow, maybe. Fate Extra Last Encore anime. I don't know what this is. It's so... There's so many of them. I can't keep track. It's ridiculous. Like, every day there's a new Fate thing.
I mean, they have a lot of...
There were actually, like, 3 other things that I didn't even mention because they were, like, smartphone games and spin-offs of other things.
This was more popular than I thought it was.
Fate?
Yeah. Though,
Yes.
The last couple of years, well, especially this year, I saw a lot of King Arthur's. That's been a really popular cosplay recently, so I don't know why they're marketing...
Mean Queen Arturia's.
No, I mean King Arthur's.
No, you don't.
She was king. Like, she never once said, no,
Okay.
excuse me, address me as queen.
That reminds me of something I want to talk about in the second infusion. Last thing. I don't have the right article up, but whatever. We'll call it that. The last story.
Join us for the second infusion.
There wasn't anything else that we have to talk about.
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well then, we'll see you in the second infusion. If you have any emails, send them to Teacast at thedragonstreasure.com. We'd love to hear from you if you're listening.
Hello?
Hello.
We need you for your kids.
Alright, bye. We'll see you later.